Hey there, chat. How's it going? Welcome back to the playoffs coverage of ETF2L Autumn Season 2024, aka Season 48. It is the upper bracket final, the fated match between LAN champions and LAN Dodgers. Just a week ago, they lifted a trophy in real life. Probably the most important thing you could ever accomplish in your gaming career. Now, NOOBPANZER have to face off against MANDEM on the other side to see which one of them gets a fast pass into the finals without having to go through the Frenchies tomorrow. Before I get ahead of myself, though, hey, I'm Cerny, joined by JMX on the production and Domato on the mic. How you doing, man?
Good evening. I'm doing well, okay, as always. Also, good evening to the combative crowd that is watching us tonight. I don't want to also get ahead of myself, but only, as always, the cat calendar requires for me to say that the burden of proof truly is set upon the shoulders of the contenders tonight. But the question is, who are the contenders? If you look at it nominally, MANDEM are the top dogs here. The main reason why they didn't finish first in the regular seasonal play games was that they dropped some elusive points in some very anonymous game that we're maybe mentioning later as the game progresses. But you already not only alluded to it, you pointed the finger directly where it hurts. NOOBPANZER, they have to be looking in hot and full form, don't they? I mean, they are the LAN champions.
Well, 5 of them. Gazzy's not sitting in today. He's got Hugie standing in, who's been playing most of the season with them, to be fair. So, I think it's completely fine as well. But yeah, I mean, they must be coming hot the heels off of that. But then again, you could have said the same thing about Skeda, and they did just lose to the French team earlier. They lost pretty decisively, actually, to Forfence, right? So maybe there is really a difference between onliners and offliners at the end of the day. Maybe people who play online take take ETF2 a lot more seriously. Maybe NOOBPANZER are like, oh, whatever, right? We got our trophy, we got our medals, we got what we could have wanted, possibly prize money. Just phone this one in, right?
I don't know, like Skeda also lost on the LAN, so maybe they felt a bit demotivational. Don't want to calculate too much in and trying to restore some semblance of order here. As you see the rosters already, players are warming themselves up in the pregame, and if you don't want to watch an elusive VOD and of a LAN tournament, then you can definitely still be convinced in the fact that I'm unbiased, but I will still introduce to you, notwithstanding the fact the current roster of NOOBPANZER in this matchup. Voxtech will be on a Pocket Scout, and you already said it, Cerny. Gazi is not being the complementary, not even scout to that, like Perma Pyro rather, but no, it will be Hugie stepping into the play. Then on the soldier pair, Hugo and Ryan, GG, giving them maybe that at the end as well on Demoman, and Piggles, the big proven man on the LAN. You might have also thought, if you saw some VODs, that he will be on Sweden, but he is not. He's currently playing for this very team. Definitely did show what he was worth. But yeah, I mean, who's opposing them?
It is a curious question because MANDEM actually has like a half of Prem apparently just rostered on their team page. I just noticed that earlier today. So they have a lot of people to choose from. Today their lineup happens to be Pandemic and Boulder on the scouts, Hans and Lardox on the soldiers, Fancy on the demo as always, and then Upi rounding out the roster on the medic role. Yeah, they have a lot of scouts and soldiers that they just like kind of cycle through whenever they feel like it, because they got blank roster, they got Inzo on that team as well, right? They have a lot of people that they just kind of feel like using whenever they want, I guess. It's curious, I suppose.
I also thought that we would go live quite soon, but since they in the in-game chat want to rival whatever wonderful meme talk you also have in the Twitch chat, just quickly in double overtime, don't mind me. I won't give you the full map pool, but we're playing tonight. You know, as a mnemonic, processed granary, what happens with that if it's, well, dried out? It goes down the gully. So we play process first, gully wash after, maybe granary, best of 3 might happen. Again, though, seeing the storylines, NOOBPANZER dropped 1 or 2 points more during the season, especially since they tied against Forfence while, or all the while MANDEM even beat Forfence. But they only dropped 1 point to them. The biggest loss, again, I talked about it earlier, the default loss against Gada Panteri in week 7 due to unfortunate reasoning or maybe unreasoning with their own players. Also beating NOOBPANZER, by the way, in week 6, 4-2. So again, nominally, I'd say MANDEM are the slightly more favorites here. So I'm already going to take a prediction, though this big momentum of LAN will carry NOOBPANZER to take this very first map process 3-2, I'd wager. What do you think?
Okay. This is fair. I mean, I'm imagining this should be a close matchup. There's a good chance that this could be a close match. As you say, MANDEM probably favored from the online performance. NOOBPANZER showing what they're made of offline, having maybe a little bit of momentum, a little bit of wind in their sails from it. It's going to be close. I couldn't call it either way. I'd have to see how this unfolds with the first 15 minutes, because I think that's going to spell what we're going to be looking at for the remainder of the map, maybe even the series. As the teams are rolling out straight away, look at that. They're making their way forward to process. They have indeed decided to start the game, and we'll see whether or not this can very well open up things straight away. Hans, lots of aggression there early on to GG, but nobody falls just yet either side. The mid is going to be a bit of a slow one, a bit of a methodical one. People just seeing what they can get away with for the time being. And, you know, maybe a soldier bomb that will open things up eventually. There's a high bomb coming in, and it didn't quite get denied either. Hugo's just going to grab some ground with that before it looks like MANDEM have to rotate away. Okay, Lardox finally tried out for Ryan. GG falling on the other side as well as Fancy, so it's still equal number as well. Not quite, because Foxy did die as well, with Hans going down on the other side. Still pretty equal, but it's looking pretty good for MANDEM with both scouts remaining and a medic to keep him healthy. Hugo trying his best to maybe do something about it as Pickles just ran away, trying to keep himself alive, keeps that Uber in track. Fair enough, good enough, I suppose.
Rub your dreamy little eyes, crepuscular gamers. After this opening, we saw mainly that NOOBPANZER went down too much in the disbenefit in the damage numbers. They didn't even rotate themselves out counterclockwise. No, they met on their own IT area, and it was very much defined by tippy-toeing early on. Both teams playing rather cautious. Then Lardox bombed in and created a lot of space, but MANDEM was able to rotate with the scout taxi out. Hans is also doing some taunts there, interesting. Especially though, Pickles survived, scurried out, hurried out with his life intact, 100% Uber now built up, and we are looking at a fabled last point push, mayhaps Hugie on that sniper class.
Yeah, it's something that can catch him off guard, but MANDEM woefully worried that something like that could come their way. They certainly know the Uber's still in play. They can't really just rush things in. They gotta work out a way to really find an opening into this last. Send in somebody, get a sack going, figure out where the sentry is, try not to run into a sniper immediately. They're all positioned nicely to not worry about that for the time being, but they gotta find the openings. They gotta not be too eager, and a couple of soldiers going in through lobby, maybe the thing they want, but unfortunately they both just get shot down. And Pickles, he does just get away with it. Just barely, but he gets away with it.
It's a triple suicidal wave. Alongside it, Fancy was dealing the damage, trying to transfix Pickles into place. Went down to 50 HP, but the sentry gun also tanked some projectiles, kept his own medic, or its own medic. It doesn't have a gender, the sentry gun, I can at least say that much, but kept the medic alive. Also, Pandemic now switching to sniper. Hugie checking in the spawn, whether or not any of classes are on the field, and they indeed are peeking through to the lobby area.
That's a good pick here. The counter sniper certainly has potential to catch NOOBPANZER off guard as well. They are aware that Hugie's going to be counter sniping as well. Naturally, it's going to be down to the duel, and given Pandemic the angles he really wants here, which is I mean, it's going to be tough, because now NOOBPANZER are aware of it. They know that Sniper's going to be looking at them as well. They're not going to be peeking too much. They have Pickles just tanked up in that dispenser, right? He's not going to be having much trouble in there either. It's MANDEM's thing to work with, really. I mean, just shooting the soldier in the feet could do something, but no, they won't be able to get that angle, and they'll just eat a lot of damage instead. As Hugie rings off a nice little headshot, but that's it for the time being, and he wins the duel on the side of Pandemic, although he dies right after. So does it even matter? Does it amount to much? Perhaps not. Perhaps not at all, unless somebody on MANDEM wants to get very eager and send themselves in right away, which doesn't seem to be the case, and I think we're just going to be looking at a bit more of a stalemate here while both teams wait for their snipers, playmakers to respawn. Okay, they find the sentry at the very least, but Hans puts out his life for it, so Ryan trade out on the other side as well, though. It's looking like there might actually be an opening coming in for MANDEM here.
Oh, Frontier Justice crits, though, trying to secure the flank. Ryan, and alongside the scout, so far forward. Bola tries to do something. You think it's a headshot on Noobie. He is destroying the head and a fourth with. That means this counter push will come out. I wanted to compliment the double soldier Sag. Hans still on the field. He is trying to switch back to sniper, but the first drop we already saw, the miraculous sniper sideline.
Oh my god!
Speaking of which,
are you kidding me? Okay, well, Hans just gets away with that one, apparently. They just bring it right back. Leapfrog the hell out of it. Hans deciding to pick up the rifle. Maybe doing a bit more work than Pandemic that time. At least he got the crucial target. They'll retake second, and they'll gladly take that into last as soon as they can. UP doesn't quite have Uber yet. They still gotta wait a little bit if they want to go off the back of the Uber charges here. But they've got a sizable ad to work with, and as long as, you know, as long as they don't worry about the sniper on the other side so much, as long as Hugie can get away with much, there's a chance. Pickles does have the crits though, and the longer they take, the longer they can hold this, the better they can kite this Uber at last. There's good chance for a refight if it comes to favor them. However, Mandem,
let's see if they
to
can
go.
spot the sentry though. The sentry is very close. The Uber is used on the scout and onto the demo man responsively. GG going to get sticked up in the spawn. Voxtech as well, so you have crits in the bank soon enough, but two players already down at the advent of that fight, and Hugie is going to drop down, but a lot of cap time already coming in the double scout.
Yeah.
Able to secure that last point. Very clinical push, and I was already getting ready to get my artificial yarn out. Oh, you turned into Europe. Nothing is going to happen for the next like 12 minutes or so, or 20 minutes of the game. But no, double headshot drop. Snipers subjugating the medic, and can't adjudicate all that much to it since they already reigned supreme, quite familiar. You saw though, perfectly executed push out, then sticking the spawn, like catching one or two stragglers, really uncharacteristically for Premiership teams to get caught in this transitional area, but 1-0 lead for MANDEM.
Yeah, they take it nicely, and now they gotta do another mid-fight. Plenty of time for NOOBPANZER to come back with another round on the board as well, but as the last mid-fight was as well, this one starts off a little slow. Players just seeing what they can do, so just, you know, leapfrogging the high ground a little bit, and the first to fall will be Ryan. However, at least they trade him out for Hans on the other side. GG goes down as well as Voxy though, and the players are falling like dominoes on the side of NOOBPANZER. The remaining ones trying to escape with what they can.
And he's chasing!
Lays the chase as well. Lots of damage perhaps, but will get caught instead. Won't be able to catch off anybody. Lardox can't either. The remaining players will just narrowly escape. Very low health on all of them, but they do escape. Pickles keeps his Uber. Most of the players stay alive, which means they'll have a nice chance of Eden, just contesting second and holding on to that instead, and perhaps bring the fight back to MANDEM.
Very slow, methodical approach by MANDEM, keeping their flanks checked, but great initial chase out, initially secured MANDEM at that point, however, and Pickles is trying to recharge back onto it. GG got some stickies out. Pickles down already, down to 50 HP. That seems to be a recurring, ongoing trend, though. Hans leaps in! Can't find the final damage rocket number. The last resort bayonet also not securing that medic's life. Keeps alive for that much.
Just about. But Pickles getting a lot of pressure put on as well. They gotta be on top of everything, and just knowing that Hans is gonna be spawning again, there might be a fast one coming their way very, very soon once more. That's kind of what he does. They gotta be on top of that. They gotta be ready for anything, and Pandemic actually pick up the rifle, using the opportunity once more to switch off to sniper. Lots of sniping happening already. I mean, we're only 8 minutes in. This is the second round, and we're seeing plenty of sniping once more. As soon as there's any form of stalemate, these players being very proactive with the pick class. However, will it actually amount to anything? Will they get the space they need for Pandemic here? Even just a scout frag onto Voxy may open things up a little bit, and what do you know? They get a different angle to access now. However, it looks like NOOBPANZER are going to be well aware of what's coming their way and try to pressure at least a little bit into Su. Unfortunately, nice. Hugo's gonna pay with his life there, and yep, that's
nice pipe into Su. Pandemic is still peeking, but he was also the plague for his own opposing team, causing so many headaches. They were riven by that sniper sideline since there was no counter sniper. Now Hugie is trying to switch off and well, descend this enemy team, trying to control the one area. Pandemic is peeking. Oh! Takes a headshot though, fully healed up, nothing to worry for him so far. Sentry gun already built up to a level 2. You called it out though, the rotations not being this strong early enough in the game. No, the snipers are mainly what is dictating the flow of this.
They're trying their best. Hugie wins the duel this time around, will be getting the upper hand in that sniper duel, and open things up a bit for NOOBPANZER now. obviously not going to be very keen to push out. This is a Voxy team. They're not going to push out a last with a sniper pick, but they might give Yuji a bit of grounds to just get a bit eager himself if he so desires, or just wait it out. They love thugging it out on last as well. It's always a nice thing to do, I suppose, if you have absolutely no avenue of pushing out. Go for the round reset. Sure, it's boring. Even if you're down a round, it's less advisable, but what can you do at this point, right? You can't find the opening if you can't, expect MANDEM to mess up royally, which they really haven't been. They've been on top of most of the stuff they've been trying, right? Even if they send in sacks, it doesn't go horrendously wrong for them. They've got all the time in the world to work around this pandemic sniper play, see if he can get whatever he needs to, maybe spam that sentry out a little bit, find what you can. Take your time. That's a cheeky angle, man. I'm pretty sure that could have been a good chance that he just domes GG right there, but didn't quite happen.
Already Hans and Lorax are roaming free in the lobby area. Nothing really came of it. Already though, Pandemic loses his head. The counter duel seems rather abrasive. No one really owns the upper hand. It was a very equal trade out on that sniper class. Yuji now assumes a top role in the upper lobby. Hugo falls though, and Ryan. That might prompt an immediate push or force play since 2 soldiers down. There's a lot of lag right now in terms of counter spam. Sentry is minced meat early enough. A soldier leaps and on to Pickles. He's so forward and gets forced.
Yeah, that's a nasty one by Lardox, and that's gonna probably spell doom for this last hold immediately. Nice little shot onto Boulder, maybe keeping things in this, but the Uber comes out for the other side. MANDEM already putting so much pressure on the point as well. They've lost a couple of players, but they're still in this for the fight regardless. Perhaps a bit ambitious, biting off more than they can chew, but they can certainly deny people from going anywhere as well. Yuji just getting destroyed by Fancy, and the rest of the team trying to escape as best they can, just holding off any aggression. Hugo can't do anything. Voxy finding himself in a lot of danger as well. He will eventually trade him out, but Piggles just gets piped.
Jesus, that pipe over the point. The epiphany for those opposing players. You called it out, MANDEM. Way too eager on the trigger finger, pushing too early, but afterwards a brilliant conversion rate. I'm already going to call it double scout on the point. Nobody's going to offer any protection for that. What a wonderful arc from Zenith to Nadia onto Piggles. Catches an absolute pipe and gets plumped right down to the respawn queue. Alongside that though, Pandemic showed that he's not only very accomplished on sniper, no, those meat shots to protect Upi were clean and crisp. The soldiers were plucked out of the sky like a wonderful riven morning. They are plucking the flowers away, and that leads to a 2-0 lead already.
Still plenty of time for NOOBPANZER and their fans to rejoice at potential comebacks, but they gotta start putting on some work as the mid goes a little bit faster. Lardox, nice little early aggression there as Pons comes across as well. Lots of damage onto the combo. Follow up again by Lardox. Everybody's so low. Ryan already the first to fall. For the side of NOOBPANZER, it's going south already, and they've just about rotated around. They do find Fancy at the very least. Pandemic almost gets onto the mid. Will get cleaned up as well though. Hugo dying on the other side. Still pretty even. It's actually looking pretty nice for NOOBPANZER until Piggles dies right there, and things fall apart subsequently because there's no healing left for anybody. GG trying his best, can't really do much. Voxy, the only remaining soldier here, trying to fight off a healed Boulder, and Upi so low on health as well, but won't die. Just narrowly dodging the bullets. It's another one mid fight from MANDEM once more.
By the way, Border's on a 5k, and that was one mid-fight, and where else could he claim those frags? I think he just got a 5k in that round alone, completely cleaned everyone else up. You saw Upi being quite comfortably pocketing the the scout class. Voxtech was so close on hitting the final shots, but ultimately not able to do it, and the LAN champions have to protect their own honor and show their prowess as they're already looking into the brink of being pushed with a 40% Uber disadvantage into their own point, maybe even being 3-0 down as we speak.
Yeah, this last push is already going underway for MANDEM. Uber comes in, so much gap time. Fancy just sticking off the right side, meaning they have to rotate around, and nobody can even get out of spawn. They're just not close to the point whatsoever. The soldiers shut down the other door. Everybody's scared of just walking out, and it's another clean, quick round on the board for MANDEM. Still, 16 minutes left. They are kind of starting to run away with it a little bit, which is scary. If you're coming into this rooting for NOOBPANZER, being like, oh, they just won LAN. Oh, well, they got their work cut out for them because they're back to mid once more, and this time they might have to make a difference with it.
Everybody's reconvening on that middle point. You don't even have to rub your dreamy little eyes. No, you're completely correct here. It is upper bracket Premiership final, but it maybe doesn't seem like it, as one team is just dominating very eagerly, as the soldiers already leaping into the skies. They were preponderate on the side of MANDEM, but Hugo gets claimed again by Pandemic. Yuji down as well for the count. Voxtec and Ryan have a combined damage health of 15 HP though. GG is enough to pluck the pipes forward. Upi loses her life. Piggles is still alive. Voxtec secures that medic out. Again though, that is a lost midpoint.
It's a lost mid-fight, but for once at least they don't just have a silver lining of Piggles living, they actually have an opportunity to come back into this match. It's a prime chance. Fancy very overextended as well. Will he get punished for his insolence? No, God shall not smite him down just yet. He will escape through sewer. He will live. Hans picking up the rifle once more as well. It's already been dangerous. He's hit one crazy shot that mattered once before, and he may do it again if they're not careful. Okay, the Uber's popped off. NOOBPANZER just opting to roll this one forward with the ad they got. Unfortunately for them, it goes absolutely nowhere. It's the most abysmal Uber you've seen all game. It does absolutely nothing except zone players out of mid. Now they've got a diss ad, and they got to deal with this MANDEM aggression that will inevitably come their way again.
Now you see why they're not playing with blank, because blank is always with MANDEM. Here they just Ubered into a blank space without even looking what was there. There was nothing, and now they handed a 50% advantage to NOOBPANZER, who really have to put on their big boy pants. MANDEM have this 40% advantage. But yeah, I mean NOOBPANZER really, I feel like they're reveling in the fact that they are not really doing anything. Like they're just happy to be on this losing end. Lordox is retaliated as a frag, but NOOBPANZER lose 2 in pursuit of creating more space. I don't even know what that was. Idiosyncratic play, suiciding 2 of your players in for absolutely no reason whatsoever. It equalizes things greatly. I'm trusting into Piggles probably to take an exchange here.
I mean, it's one you might have to at this point as well. Hans still getting the angle as well, but they know the sniper's still in play. They don't want to risk anything. They're just going to try to make sure nobody loses their head over this one. And if it may be that way, then they have to play to the cards of MANDEM, but it's dangerous to just even cross the sight line. You got to make sure that the sniper is out of the equation sooner rather than later, otherwise you will be suffering. As soon as that push goes underway, somebody not caught in the Uber, boom, that player is at severe risk of being put into a respawn queue instantaneously. So they gotta be very cautious about this on the side of NOOBPANZER, and they're down 3 rounds. Don't forget about this. They can't really afford to be too slow, or to just wait it out.
They can't play the Voxtec way that you've maybe seen on a LAN. They are opting to push through the IT area. Let's see if Ubi can catch it early enough. The trade is happening. Ryan gets domed in mid-air, and now this trade is further on commencing. It is a little bit longer on the Uber duration in the choke area, but they get nuked there.
Okay.
They fell into the trap card. Yu-Gi-Oh! It is. Everybody's going to get wiped out. Fancy only left alive. The final pipe does not hit Piggles' face, and that is a clean wipe. Get your sponges out and your whiteboard. They baited them in so easily. That Uber trade was way better in terms of duration for MANDEM, but then they sort of kited it back, and I don't know even why MANDEM chased. They just felt collateral damage to all of those projectile and damage, splash damage numbers.
Yeah, I guess they got a little bit too confident, realizing that they were in control for so long, maybe getting too eager, and came back to bite them for that one. Now they've had a whole loss for the first time on this map. We're finding ourselves on this side of the map. Isn't that crazy? NOOBPANZER only now. First time claiming the enemy second, and a prime opportunity to take it into last as well. Big Uber ad to go with, and if they roll it quickly, there won't be much defense to write home about yet either. Sentry is very far back, will get taken care of immediately before the Uber's even popped as well. Now they just gotta take care of the rest of the players and play that point as best they can. Everybody's bunkered up inside the bunker. Bit of cap time on the point as well. However, Hughie's the first to fall. They find Upi on the other side though. No heals. Even if this goes sour, at least they've saved themselves a nice opportunity to come back in regardless, and it looks like that's what they're gonna be banking on.
Also didn't have, or have still some cap time to play here. Nobody is going to oppose Fancy, however they get the brunt of their forward spawns. Only Ryan back spawning, and still a 40% advantage. Upi only rolling out as we speak. Hans on that sniper. You can have your very eager eyes pulled to your heart, and you can see the advantages.
Oh my god.
Which are Piggles going to get thrown into the abattoir as a little piglet apparently, and losing that aforementioned Uber advantage once more. You saw the distinct difference, by the way. When MANDEM pushed that last, they had the Uber first on put onto the scouts, and that managed to get them this very fast cap time, and when NOOBPANZER tried to push, they tried to focus the heals and go into panic room, but the enemy team was not panicked at all. No, they just rotated them out to the other side since there was no ancillary pressure. Now though, Ryan is jumping in, Hugo as well, and UBI is going to get absolutely torn apart by VoxTech.
Alright, that's what you need there. You need those sack waves to work out your way, and now you just gotta make sure Pickle stays alive, as he's already got a lot of aggression on him as well. They don't have to worry about a flank just yet, and they're doing a good job holding off everything else. Pandemic manages to claim a kill onto Hugie. Ryan will also die in the cleanup, but it's only Pandemic and Hans left, and as long as Pickles can dodge them, nice little surf to get away from one of them, as Pandemic, the only remaining soldier for the time being. He's dodging and weaving, but eventually will get cleaned up as well. Pickles will hang on to this Uber ad, and NOOBPANZER will find themselves another opportunity to perhaps even take it all the way to last if they start claiming second by now, because there's no way MANDEM are doing anything but holding last.
Is that a mere mockery of higher Premiership medics? I saw Pickles there on that Uber saw, but eventually not going to clop the enemy scout down though. Now comes the Uber though. The jolt force of the scouts is trying to send shock waves through the enemy team. No, Lardox is dealt with. Sentry is now strapping bolts only. Fancy sticking away GG, which is already a big detriment to the efforts of pushing this. VoxTech gets deleted by a Fancy. You press that key and you're not with your team any longer. Hans trying to fly forward, but the defensive demo man literally won that defense for his team.
And they're keeping it rolling out as well. Very, very ambitious of MANDEM just pushed this out, and they're actually getting away with it too. Just a couple of nice little frags for Pandemic cleaned up, and NOOBPANZER just not finding their stride right now. They are simply not finding the stride they want to. They're not getting the last pushes locked down. They're not getting what they need to. Now have to hold on to mid with still an Uber disset as well. Fancy claiming a lot of ground early. Takes a lot of damage as well, but he'll be fine as long as he heals up back behind. And they're actually going to be using the crits, trying to see what they can find. One frag onto Ryan, and that may very well be it, unless this crit pipe can do anything special. It will not, and Pickles will have his own Uber to respond with as Hans gets cleaned up. And now MANDEM are going to be feeling the pain. They are get out of their stat, and they might just get cut off in upper IT if they're not careful. And that is exactly what happens. Hugo claims that kill onto UP. Balder gets cleaned up as well. GG does die to Pandemic in the meantime, but only a little consolation to perhaps slow down the tank as it tries to roll over this last point. Lardox can't deny the second either, and the back cap attempt won't accomplish much as well. Certainly the best chance NOOBPANZER have had for a round conversion. The Uber comes out, they will just lock this down. A little bit of block by Hans ain't gonna do anything. They find themselves a final round for once. Essentially, eventually.
Fully executed by the NOOBPANZER soldiers. You can see why they've chosen the Panzer, since the projectiles were so prominent in those plays. Ryan was really well dealing with Lardox on that midpoint, blocking it, and Hugo with an amazing skip jump onto the second point claimed Upi's life. I felt like they were already getting way too overzealous in their own mumble as well, probably trying their hands on the crits, shooting some trouble up, and most essentially trying to slow the game down a little bit and tick down this time, because you were 3-0 up, but now you're only 3-1 up, and let's see what this next Uber, this next mid-fight can change the flow of this game. No, Hugo is dealt with as the earliest frag encounter. Ryan also caught completely in the open, 2 soldiers down.
That's the curtains on the mid already for NOOBPANZER. They're cutting their losses on that one. Probably a smart play when you've got about 7 minutes left to try and still pick up 2 more rounds, and you don't really want to be on the back foot for too long. Sure, especially when you consider that they're now basically swapped sides, right? They've retreated out of the mid, but they retreated to the wrong side, and now they're letting MANDEM just kind of run away with second, and they're taking forever to catch up to them. There's going to be a fight on last, and the team isn't going to be even there to fight anything. The Uber comes out for MANDEM, just trying to secure this point. Exchange is had. Players are falling, but they're only falling on the side of NOOBPANZER. Both soldiers down once more. The refight is surely already favoring MANDEM as Hugie gets taken down as well. They find a couple of frags at the very least, but is it going to be enough? Is GG going to be able to hold down the point as well? He'll just get sorted down, and there you go. Another quick run from MANDEM. They just bully their way through that one.
What just happened?
Yeah,
why do NOOBPANZER end up on the enemy team second, and then they are trying to chase after them so much? That was like a sitcom, I don't know, a coup d'etat of comedy. I don't know what just happened there. Might have been the throw of this very first map. Honestly, they were charging back so very wonderfully and reclaiming the rounds, and then they just do this big bummer of a play. And yeah, I mean, only 1 round separates the MANDEM team to close process off in their own favor.
And not to mention, it's only 6 minutes separate NOOBPANZER from trying to get 3 whole rounds, which means they have to pick up the pace stat. And losing Hugo early as the first frag on the mid is certainly not going to help. Trade out for Lardox and Hans on the other side at the very least is going to help a bit, but they lose Piggles, and that's just going to slow them down so much. The brakes have immediately been pulled. The handbrake is engaged. There's very little they can do unless they get a miraculous frag onto Upi or something like that to keep themselves in this, but they're already on the back foot again. There's very little they can do to just continue pushing this forward, and it looks like it may be curtains just off the back of that. We're entering garbage time. 3 rounds in 5 minutes is extremely ambitious, especially from the position that NOOBPANZER are in right now.
I don't want to be conflicted in that notion since, I mean, 5.5 minutes, we don't want to enter garbage this early, though the pipe claims the facial features of Hugo as those facial features got rearranged. Afterwards, though, another rocket came through and the Uber now gets used, and Piggles is even caught in transition as well as in translation in the choke area. Fancy was juggled, pencil jumping early enough. Hugie still in behind, and Voxtech hiding on the top. Upi is in some peril, some danger, jeopardized by the enemy team's pocket scout, and Hugo is still trying to fling some projectiles forward to that point. Ryan lurking in behind the area, and now I might be tempted to engage into saying this could be pet statting time.
It is certainly not looking like NOOBPANZER can win, and that's suddenly when they start getting better. They suddenly get quite the plays under their belt. Unfortunately, none of them matter. They get some cool frags, they get some stats padded, but it doesn't matter at all because it's not like they can win off the back of it. The best they can do is get themselves some morale for Gully Wash and give themselves another chance at maybe coming back there, because right now they weren't looking all that good on Process, I'll be honest. They were not in control for most of it. Fancy has also been just doing incredibly well, but everybody on MANDEM has been on the top of their game so far. And if that continues on Gully Wash, this may very well just be a 2-mapper.
As we also peer our eyes toward a potential stat line here, as Yuji gets absolutely outdiffed. No, never mind, he outdiffs Lardox rather and turns a little bit away, Boulder being on consecutive 3Ks. I pulled up the little scoreboard and you can already see that, never mind. And next, I don't know what Piggles is doing. I think he doesn't need good stats. He just straight up walks into the enemy team expecting not to die or something. Maybe the action is abating a mild bit. Ryan tries to thwart the midden heaps on that middle point. Oh! Gets a really nice domination air shot in the midst and in the thick of it. But yeah, I mean, Upi and Entourage are looking to seal this round off, and it is really putting me in an obscure stance since I feel like I'm a bit more hyped than NOOBPANZER here. They didn't really try, it felt like, for me.
Yeah, they seemed like they just gave up at some point already, and I mean they're still just trying to have a bit of fun with it now, but you know what's it amount to? They're just kind of, I feel like they clocked out after like it went 2-0 or something like that. It seems like they found a bit of wind with that extra round, but then they immediately lost it again, and now, well, maybe the mind's already on Gully Wash instead, right? Maybe that's what they want instead. I don't know who picked what. I didn't quite pay attention to that, whose map pick this was. I would assume it was MANDEM's, but you never know, right? So if that's what you want to stock it up to.
The top seed should pick the very first map, shouldn't they? And that should be NOOBPANZER, but matter of fact, doesn't really
you get
matter.
Choice. You get the choice as to whether you want to pick or ban first, right? So
no, I hear that's fake news, but Pandemic is going to get picked up. No, I'm just kidding. We are looking at the remaining 2 minutes here, and already, yeah, Ryan is going to get absolutely flung into the air. What I was talking about, the scoreboard, GG is bottom scoring on his own team. You see even the stark difference within the scouts here. Scouts are very prominent on NOOBPANZER, but even they are getting outdiffed. Now Upi is trying to kite it forward, stays alive for that much without a demo man, though that will spell disaster in a mere second. Voxtech is fighting a different battle than his own team, and now a 1v1 skirmish is still ringing out here. GG on the point, piping Pandemic away. Only 90 seconds to go though, but what do you feel was known that mostly or mainly in the sort of momentum area here that defined this game? Because in my eyes, never mind, now Ryan comes in, but yeah, I mean, GG is like bottom scoring here.
Yeah, I don't know what to stock it up to, right? And MANDEM have just been looking solid. Every player's been doing wonderfully. They've all been all been doing the plays they need to. They've all been on top of it. The coordination has been superb. NOOBPANZER, they are also really good, but they're just, I don't know, they have a couple extra mistakes, right? They just do weird sacks that really shouldn't be working, and they don't, because now they're going up against a team that actually knows how to deal with them, and they're just not getting away with it. They're not giving GG the room, because that's how he dies, right? They're not giving him the room. That's why he's not getting anything done, and it's hard to stock it up to just from the back of this. We'll see the logs once this round ends, which will be within the next 30 seconds at some point, and we'll see if that matters at all. Nice little headshot there, just to ring it off onto Upi, I suppose. Huge claiming another one for the frag bit. If it, just make sure you hide the round timer. And yeah, I don't know, man. NOOBPANZER are certainly not looking on top of their game right now.
I'd say the round timer is okay. The scoreboard is a little bit more misaligned. What counters to me, Upi is on the heavy weapons guy. I am also not sure as it ticks down now. So 4-1 to MANDEM, claiming process. We are for the underdog story here, believing in the fact that MANDEM also picked this map. In your mind, though, every map should be yours, but I don't know, or I'm not so certain if that was also a hot take there from you, speaking about NOOBPANZER having some, like, trying their hands on cheeky off classes, but this time they're against a team that happens to be on top of it, not being able to be subjugated by it. But if you also remember, LAN, is that the fabled LAN story of being worn out from an offline tournament and then maybe not trying your hardest in an online tournament? I mean, it is double elimination, but you could have already booked your place here into the Prem Grand Final, and whoever wins or loses this rather has to play 2 more games to win the trophy.
Yeah, they got to go through a little bit more after that, and well, maybe they're just checked out, maybe they're clocked out. They know that they can't be knocked out right now, right? So they can just take it easy, take it lightly, not worry about it too much. I'm looking at the logs, and I see that Boulder got a almost 3.0 KD. Yeah, he was fragging. That's pretty explainable. Fancy was just laying down damage, as he tends to do. Just off the back of that, immediately, I mean, it tells a story. It was a pretty one-sided map, and the stats reflect that across the board, pretty much. Like, no matter which class matchup you look at, they just like outmatched them. MANDEM just outmatched their counterpart at pretty much almost every step on the side of NOOBPANZER. It's 1-to-1 every single match. It's kind of crazy, actually.
The only one falling a little bit off is, in my eyes, Horns there on a 9-21, but you can't really blame him since there's no stat line space created. Indeed, also did a lot of damage. I'm mostly looking at also totaling kills and damage. You see, in my eyes, only 14 kill disparity, which don't, it's always in my eyes, translate to this such a dominant scoreline at the end of that. But you also see the damage number, which is also not maybe per se quite as telling, but if you recollect in your memory that the main damage sources or main incomes of damage that NOOBPANZER collected was when they were just spamming chokes and getting their damage high up, that leads to my conclusion that they weren't even gathering all the focus fire damage in the sort of transitional areas, which means they were shooting just simply different targets. I also saw Voxtec sometimes leading different battles alongside with Piggles than the rest of his team. If you saw him at LAN, you can see how he directs his team. Maybe also Gezi is a little bit missing in the fray here, being the dark horse for them and mixing some trouble up. But the problem is, if you try those cheeky stats, or strats rather, you need to have a very strong core fundament and a core foundation, and it didn't really seem to be there since MANDEM was always dominating them in the sky, and even the scouts were simply shooting GG and Hugo, that was, I think, or Ryan, Ryan, out of the air, like literally impossible for those soldiers to land and have an impact early on in the game, and then afterwards, after their own team got cleaned up, all you can really try is to get the enemy medic to die, and Upi did that, I think, sometimes, but yeah, Piggles also died a lot.
Yeah, I think it was just the coordination lack, as you say. I see like a push being attempted by one part of the team, and the flank completely just left like headless chickens running around, nothing they really know they're doing. It's a weird one. It's a strange one. I don't know what this necessarily spells for NOOBPANZER. Perhaps they're taking it lightly. Perhaps they're taking it easy. They're not taking it too seriously, right? They already won LAN. What more could you want? at the end of the day, LAN is the proving ground, and even if you lose online to a team that hasn't come to LAN, none of it matters. None of this will matter at all until MANDEM shows up to the next LAN.
NOOBPANZER just won the first round because MANDEM didn't attend LAN. The more you know.
Exactly. That's how it goes. There's an extra point for that. The admins didn't quite reveal that yet. That's going to be revealed at the end of the season, but I'm spoiling it now. That there's a LAN point bonus, which means MANDEM actually they have to go through 2 best of 3. We can just like the US, like they do in America, right? Where like the lower bracket team has to win like 2 best of 5s or something like that. Who's casting the finals tomorrow? Do they want to be here until 2 a.m.? I'm proposing some incredible rule changes here. I think it's going to make the game so much more interesting because that's what the Americans always say, right?
And they have my favor for it, but we'll see. I don't even want to clock us out here. No, we have 2 veteran teams, veteran players against each other. Onto Gullywash, a bit of a different type of a beast process. Also, as Gullywash, a long time played map, but Gullywash a little bit more clogged up with the chokes. Maybe GG can get into his element by this sheer and simple fact that he won't get bombed all the way to all end, and he can actually do something about it by sticking off chokes and sticking off like other departments. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, maybe also since we're going live in 1.5 minutes, I want to put you on the spot. Who's the playmaker here for you to needs to turns up for NOOBPANZER? I'm mostly looking at GG, but do you have anyone else to peer your eyes to?
Ryan is a crazy soldier. He was insane on LAN. So if he can get his way, which is not as easy on Gullywash, to be fair, as a soldier. It's not that much of a soldier map compared to some others. But still, if he can get his way a little bit more, if he can get away with the stuff he's trying, we can see something turning around. Hugo is a very solid core as well for that combo. Again, if he can, get away with a little bit more, stay alive a little bit more, there's a good chance that they can make something happen. Because I think Hugie and Voxy were doing all they can. I think they're doing just fine. They're not necessarily required to be the playmakers. I think they've been doing okay. Hugie was doing okay on the sniper. Voxy's always doing okay on the combo. He's so solid, so consistent, right? So I think just getting a bit more consistent, getting a bit more coordinated, somehow getting away with more, and also locking down the enemies more. It's less of a playmaker nature for NOOBPANZER and more so like not letting Hans, not letting Boulder, not letting Pandemic get away with as much as they were getting away with on Process.
Also, the irrefutable fact that probably snipers will be in play here, but the snipers on this very map don't get all the surprise angles as the clock is going to count down. No, also, those snipers will be clocking up in the choke and trying to deny that set choke. As we go on to the fabled turf of CP Gullywash, the red squadron, or red brigade rather, is occupied by NOOBPANZER players who are right now staying momentarily in the spawn area. I think we have a pause. A config pause, brilliant. And the blue squadron is named after MANDEM. It is very difficult, team, players, Twitch viewers, check your config before you start the game. Those players and teams here are inexperienced because I think also on LAN other people are doing that for you, but yeah, I don't know about that. We are still waiting our sweet time. Yeah, wanted to hype something up, but no, alas.
At this point, I honestly, like, why even pause? Why not just change the config and restart the round? You're literally a minute in, there's not much to be lost, but I guess they did the mid fight and they were so content with their outcome. They didn't want to change it whatsoever, so they settled for the pause instead, which is very interesting. But yeah, this might be one of the fastest, if not the fastest pause we've seen in Prem ever, because it literally happened, I mean, as the match started. That's incredible.
Yeah, in terms of STV, 100%. Also, some maybe even post-factual commentary. No, maybe in hindsight even, I'm going to agree unequivocally. Both teams might be quite content with their mid-fight. Also, I want to second and be abdicating for what you just said. I was also impressed by what Ryan was doing on LAN. Even if he didn't get all the juicy frags, whenever I saw him bombing in, I thought, this guy knows what he's doing. If he's not even getting a frag, he's just creating so much space. And like even after 2 or 3 times that he got completely stomped into the ground and shut down by not getting frags, I was still thinking, oh, now he bombs in amazing again. And now he just creates space and players walk into that set space. It was really a pivotal prodigy there showing, but maybe enough glazing the underdogs here. The top dogs are definitely looking in quite a comfortable perch. We saw Fancy, or not talking about Fancy all that much before. I don't want to give him an unnecessary limelight. He was putting out the huge damage numbers. I think 320 damage per minute. Also Pandemic dominating the skies as we spoke earlier. Sniper was the class of choice, but the long shooting marksman, not the only one where he was very accomplished on. The scout absolutely tearing through everything. So that's sort of a different beast. Now we talked enough. We bought them out enough. So a mid-fight, and it is yours, Sony.
Let's see, what happened here? What caused this pause to be so important? Which team desperately wanted to cling to what they had accomplished as Ryan goes very low early on, but will convene with his team again and just wait up to heal. As Lardox is the first to fall on this very mid-fight, traded out on the other side for GG, which is quite the powerful frag to have. No demo means this mid is immediately turning in your favor, even if you're down both soldiers. MANDEM looking a bit good with that one if they can keep their grounds alive. Unfortunately for them though, they're not getting much yet. They're just slowly but surely corralling these players forward or back, and it's looking like maybe NOOBPANZER are just getting away with a mid-win this time around. Hugo laying down his life and choke, but a point is lipped. NOOBPANZER capped it first. Pickles doesn't quite have his Uber just yet. He does, but pipe onto Pickles. Dangerous. He stays alive though.
He does stay alive. The stark difference, by the way, now they're getting bullied out here. NOOBPANZER was that MANDEM traded 2 soldiers for 1 demo pick, which on paper would seem good enough, but the problem was Fancy did not have the call on what to shoot, so they got surrounded on their own choke. And now the soldier is going to leap in your Lardox and does get nothing at all. Fancy also dies. Ryan was reading this counter aggression very, very early. UBF has Pandemic and Boulder in Tau. They are purging up onto their own second point, and this is where the 6v6 5CP config has been loaded finally, and I think that was just some downtime. Nothing really came of it. Hello, welcome. You have been sleeping in. No, you've been sleeping in the Matrix. It is 2024, and what you just thought happened didn't really happen. The mid-fight just starts now.
Apparently, I don't know. Well, are they doing the mid-fight now? Because that's not what I'm seeing. I guess they're resetting. Yeah, I guess they're just going back to where they were instead of just restarting in general. Fair enough. They just accept that they're gonna have to hold last on the side of MANDEM. They're giving a bit of a handicap to the side of NOOBPANZER, I guess, allowing them to take second, allowing them to somehow push last. It's a curious one, certainly. I have to say, but hey, look, the game can continue from here. It's like nothing ever happened, and this is what we were probably gonna find ourselves in anyway. MANDEM just accepted that they lost Fancy, they lost Lardox right when just before the pause came in. So, whatever. We'll just hold last, and we'll just do it from this point. Fair enough, I guess. If that's what they want to do, if that's how they want to do it.
What is this game? We'll see. Honestly, like Pickles running around with the Uber and typing in chat, give me sauce. He's so eager on it. He's still trying to find someone. He has 98%. I don't know what he was trying to lure in there or who he's trying to lure in. There are so many cheeky comments out in the chat. I really have to disable that. But no, like now NOOBPANZER are on the brink of pushing into this last moments. Certainly Ryan is getting buffed as we speak. Also GG up to full fitness. Now the scout is on the point. GG gets the point to about half cap.
That's a lot of cap time to put down early. A little bit caught with your pants down there. That's your job as the soldier up top, and you didn't quite pay attention. You're gonna let that cap time get on there. It's gonna make it a little bit easier to pressure if you want to actually make use of it as NOOBPANZER. As it turns out, they're perfectly keen just waiting instead and seeing what happens. Boulder just checking for the off classes as well, and probably caught this Hugie sniper. There's a good chance he would have, and well, I guess we'll see what Hugie can do. There's a nice hero shot you can line up here. It's certainly feasible that you can try.
Drop? Yeah. Like Hugie jumps in, drops Pickles, and then Pandemic jumps in, drops UBF. It's easy. It's very easy. Well, you have to make the
dropping their own medics, but it's fine. Anyway, Hugie's opting for the lower angle instead, and you know what? The shot onto Fancy, he's gonna settle for that. That's a pretty valuable pick as well. And now with the sniper being known quantity, no stickies on the point means lots of pressure from the scouts, and the point is actually gonna do a lot. Your box is getting the captain. UBF, a nice shot as well onto UBF. You love to see it. No Uber to block the point, and that's it for NOOBPANZER. They get it off the back of that just that easily. They forgot about the sniper, took him too lightly. Hugie hits the shot he needs to, and NOOBPANZER go up a round.
It reinstates what we talked about earlier. The only thing that was missing there was Piggles, maybe kill binding or like trying to even the grounds there. He did pop his Uber, but I simply forgot about the sniper. This game is already getting me on the verge of not believing my own eyes, but it is a 1-0 now for NOOBPANZER, who want to claw it back, and the first drop already came out of UBF. Fancy is trying to control his own area. Lardox patrolling upon the battlement, and Ryan already down to half HP wins that 1v1 alongside with Hugo. Hugo is bombing the platform, and they are leaving simply no positioning for MANDEM.
They couldn't get into that point at all. Hans dying pretty early as well means they just decided to settle for a second instead. Fair enough, Ryan already slips in behind as well, doing the roamer things, and we'll see how they can make use of that soldier behind as well, they try to pressure the rest of the team out somehow, and it turns out I think Ryan will just have to wait for a while before he can really accomplish much. He's just been a bit of a thorn, bit of a nuisance back there. He's got a scout buddy, Hugie, backing him up as well, making sure that, you know, nobody gets too eager, trying to 1v1 his soldier buddy here, and they might just have a chance to actually go for a bit of a pincer here. If they can coordinate this aggression, there's some nasty positioning that NOOBPANZER have to work with here that they can really try to use to their best abilities as a MANDEM have to find a response to it. And Hans going down is certainly going to open things up even more for this NOOBPANZER approaching team as MANDEM try to hold him even closer in big door, just seeing if they can maybe just somehow trade something out, but they're losing the war of attrition slowly but surely. Sure, Hans will spawn now, and that's going to be its own thing. He can deal with the players behind, I guess, but the faster NOOBPANZER move, the better chances they have to actually get away with something. As Hugie finds Hans. Oh, okay, they're going to fight him off for now.
Waiting way too much for my liking there. Like this combo of Ryan and Voxtech rained Supreme and rained Hans down, and it allowed so much space, but now Hans spawns still in the river area, and they didn't really find an entrance into that second point. GG trying to spam from afar, but that might go awry as we speak, since the bolts are only getting exchanged. Piggles has to lead his company in together. Upi pops so very much later. You see no one really wants to take this fight at all. Ryan dominating Hans in that river area. We have a double soldier now on the river. Ryan is bombing through, getting some damage, but it is ultimately not enough. Fancy owns this choke.
Oh my god. That's a 4-player sack for Fancy. That's... Just let that sink in for a minute. Like, that's not a book move. You would definitely call that a blunder, because that is not what they were designed to do with that one, and it's immediately putting NOOBPANZER in a much worse position now. Sure, the Ubers are equal, but they don't have any players' presence whatsoever. There's already Soldier coming through. They get a second one as well. They're just gonna send it to Skybox, and they miss the air shots. Hugo will die eventually. Hans the only one trade on the other side, but no soldiers for NOOBPANZER means they're even struggling to hold off all of this damage. Piggles in so much danger in lobby as well, will surely die to Lardox just waddling in on him, and he's probably gonna get GG as well. There you go, the Minecraft kill, and it's a wipe for NOOBPANZER.
That's the round right there. That is only Ryan and Hugo spawning. They have to amount to a huge amount of work. Lardox is still a little bit alone in that area, but now the Uber and this team company will flood in, make it 1-1 in the matter of like 4 minutes or so, and that was definitely one of the biggest blunders by NOOBPANZER, not able to control their own choke area enough. And those projectile classes got flushed out so easily. You said it, they tried to, I don't even say 4-1 sack on Fancy. No, he was simply locking down that choke, and they were trusting in that they already dealt with him, but no, he had the pipes very readily available to them, and it's already a tie. Maybe the momentum flips and shuts down away from them again. I surely do not hope for the storyline of the underdogs here as this third mid-fight unravels.
And they have to try their best to get the first frag onto Lardox, so they are up a player immediately. Losing Voxy on their own side though, trade out for Hans once more, and there goes Hugo. It's still just scrapping back and forth either side. Pandemic gets taken down. Piggles trying to keep his team alive as best he can, but there's only so much healing he can dish out across everybody. Eventually, he will escape with the remains of his team, but they have to go up against this Fancy demo as GG went down, so it's not looking good. They lose the mid, and they may have a very disadvantageous position on the second as well. GG just now finally spawning, and NOOBPANZER on the back foot, trying to hold off this MANDEM aggression through big door immediately. So much aggression through already. Hans trying to jump in, does get cleaned up very quickly at least. They have that locked down, but they have to make sure that nothing happens in choke either on the side of MANDEM. They gotta keep that on lock as well. NOOBPANZER quick to pounce that one. A little bit of peeking and prodding, but ultimately not gonna send in anything.
If that was a try on being faster on the side of MANDEM, that was so easily telegraphed as a sort of rotation, as NOOBPANZER had ample time. Had some spawners, but still had ample time to convene their players, reconvene their players even on the river area, and then rain damage down from afar. The soldier was culled in the end. Horns obviously being the roamer sometimes, or at least in that concrete situation. Now Lordox trying to assume this big door rotation. It's a 1-1 tie still as we speak. GG being forced to play on big door. Boulder trying to...
The Haunt spy. He tried to walk through choke, immediately bumps into a soldier. That spy play is just called off immediately. He's doing the walk of shame all the way back. He hasn't earned the right to do anything, and you know what? He even gets to do the spy grabbing, although he wasn't crouching, so honestly it doesn't count. Anyway, nice attempt for the spy play. Good call to try it. Unfortunately, just didn't amount to anything, so unlucky. Gotta go back to the old-fashioned. And we'll see what MANDEM can do to open this up. It is curious because NOOBPANZER found themselves in a situation just last round, right? They even had 2 players behind, had an incredible pincer setup, and then it did absolutely nothing with it whatsoever. They just couldn't find anything to do with it whatsoever. So now we'll see if MANDEM try something similar, or if they just, I don't know, bully their way in the old-fashioned way, get a single frag, somebody who's a bit too overextended, lots of damage onto a demo, perhaps, you know. Something to follow up with. No, they're going the same. The pincer. The classical gully wash lobby pincer. You send your flank in and you see what you can do from there.
It's the very, very antique, archaic antic there. Pandemic is going to reign as supreme in the river area, but no, never mind. Ryan backs out enough. He's shot up to full fitness by the able quarrels of his own aiding medic. Fancy is caught in his own choke area, and they were really separated there, trying to back out from this big door. You saw insignificant damage being traded from miles away, and that did not work out for MANDEM. NOOBPANZER also really didn't make it work before, had a little bit more of a faster approach, it felt to me. GG is now assuming this role here with VoxTech. You can already see who's calling for it. For them to be aggressive, they have this one pick on their own side. Lordox is already getting shot at. Now they are forced to multi, and that mitigates the fact that VoxTech had Pickles using earlier, but now high ground control still in MANDEM's hands.
They have the positioning for this one, and NOOBPANZER very, very quickly realizing that's a losing battle that they're fighting. They have to get back out to mid. An ambitious exchange, you only lose 1 player for it, which means you're not putting yourself at too much of a disadvantage at the end of the day. There's little chance that MANDEM would push just off the back of that, but NOOBPANZER giving them the space they earned, giving them the respect they deserve for the time being as well. And they gotta find another chance once more to actually somehow get in here. It's still 1-0 with about 11 minutes down on the clock now, so plenty of time to go around for either team to still make some moves here, but NOOBPANZER looking a lot more solid, even if it's just slowing the game pace down a little bit to what suits them more. Looking a lot more solid right now than they did on Process.
Red team didn't even hold choke. I don't know if they tried to convince Fancy to push forward to walk into the sticky trap. Ryan was in. That was, I don't even want to call that a force, or where Sack play just walked into stickies and spam there, it seemed to me, but in the end result, again, it doesn't really matter. The game seems dynamic in that sense that we have those little rotations, but no one makes a bigger, like a move into a bigger picture so far. It is very stalemate-y, don't get me wrong, it's still Europe, but only like small stalemates, since they're always rotating to the enemy team's second and even trying to take initiative. But now, it seems to be the big door rotate again with this very fabled pincer movement of the lobby, or just trying to spam.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if they're bounced up like that, yep, there you go. Soldier goes through. Now they just got to make sure that everybody else gets out safely. Fancy trying to lock that off. And meanwhile, there's a bit of aggression in through choke. A scout. Pandemic just kind of slips through, being a bit of a nuisance, and somehow lives for the time being as well. He is doing his best spy gameplay. Unfortunately, Yuji eventually finds him, does clean him up, and they've got a soldier in behind. They got a scout slipping through as well now, and he even slips in undetected. I don't think anybody on MANDEM saw him slip in just like that, even though they've got a couple of players now back to deal with him. They have to deal with this exchange on the point as well, and there's not much happening in that, let's be honest. They're just kind of flashing each other, going in and out, nothing special, just a quick dirty job, and it's going to be down to whatever in the post Uber. Ryan and Huge can do with this little pincer. They got to deal with this Pandemic Scout. They got to deal with 3 players actually now, just coming back to deal with them. And in a way, as nice little rocket, in a way that actually might open things up for them. They trade up Pandemic for Ryan. Huge unfortunately can't quite clean up the kill into Hans he wants there, but still, bought a lot of space, a lot of time for their team. Is it gonna amount to much? It's gonna have to worry about the respawners, I guess. The Ubers are not in play yet, so...
A rather feeble fizzle out of that play. I like the impetus early on. They tried to flash Hugo in and have a 3rd player to go into the river area. And you saw, even if MANDEM tried to push that midpoint, they would A, probably be not fast enough to cap it out. Otherwise, the 3 players that are behind you will cap your 2nd point. Or B, you try to take a 1v3 with a person leading the charge, so they will die, as you saw in Pandemic, dancing under the point alongside with Hugo like 2 minutes ago, but didn't really amount too much. You said it, and I really like they tried to split themselves up 3-3, 3 in river, 3 in choke on the side of NOOBPANZER. Really didn't really it only fizzled out then, because players were able to win the 1v2 in behind on their own choke. GG gets now some stickies diffused on himself. Fancy down to very low on HP. Hans as well. They're opening up the space. So much damage coming through. Hans dying, but Voxtec dies. Biggest loses Pocket Scout.
He was really trying to get him in there, but just disconnects from him too much. Voxy getting juggled away perhaps a little bit too quickly. Can't connect with his medic, and that is a very terrible Uber to be having going your way, because you couldn't get onto UP at all. Ryan and Lardox in the meanwhile trade out in river, and I mean, it's a prime opportunity for MANDEM to make something happen. They got a full Uber to work with. They might not even need Lardox. They can just move straight ahead. It's not like a round reset is going to be at play. They're at mid anyway, and they could probably take it quite freely as Hugo tries his best to maybe catch somebody off early, but MANDEM are on top of it, and everybody on NOOBPANZER is going to have to leave. They're just getting mulched and choked. They have to get out of there. Try to delay as much as you can, but Uber is still in play, and unless something happens here, unless they get a nice early force or something onto UP, they are now finding themselves on the back foot. The script has flipped, however, it's not that big of a deal just yet. We're still only on 2nd. It's gonna slow down again. UP gets a lot of damage just trying to get it to a choke.
They slowed down so much. On the side of MANDEM, they delayed their own efforts so much. I think that was Hugo trying to read it early, anticipate, one might even say, that aggression. Had a high bomb with a double sync rocket on the ground, but no one was walking through that choke. Now it mitigates this Uber advantage. Pickles has full. Hans dealt with in the choke area. A big oof that was indeed Hans, rather haunted by enemy team's rockets and the shots not able to come through. And still, some damage is exchanging. Fancy in that choke will claim Ryan's life.
And just a soldier for a soldier, a soul for a soul for the time being, and MANDEM already have him showing a bit more impetus for these pushes. Matter of fact, Polish is going to take in his Uber. Pickles responds with his own. It's going to be slightly better for the side of NOOBPANZER, but they also have to give up so much positioning, and they have absolutely nothing to show for it. They just have to rotate around on the side of MANDEM instead and try to catch up these players immediately being aggressive and choke. Fancy eats a lot of damage, but will escape a certain death very, very handily, and it looks like they're still not looking to give this up just yet. So much pressure through choke still. Everybody just spamming that point the entire time. They want to get through those 2 doors as best as they can, but they just got to cut their losses. Slow it down again, you know, see what else you can do. And I guess we'll see whether or not MANDEM find a way into this. Neither team really getting away with much. You're not giving each other any quarter right now. They're not letting them get away with anything. And a nice attempt at a bomb there, but Hans isn't going to get away with it either. No speed shot for you this time. At least he gets out of his life.
At least now also he does live. You said it or put it into other words, though I don't want to sugarcoat it too much. In the last 10 minutes, no team has kept the last point. Those 2 rounds you see on the scoreboard, 1 for each team, happened until the 24-minute mark. Then it transpired into the distance, and after all, there is no wonder wall, no other walls are set up. They're not simply pushing in right now, and nothing really came of it. I like NOOBPANZER's way of switching things up and diversifying their own movement. You saw Voxtec absolutely manhandling Hans in like 1 minute ago. Why am I talking about those past events? You can see it here on your screen. Nothing is happening.
Yeah, they got the pincer set up again. Yeah, as you know, the classic gully wash flank play. However, will they be able to make it amount to anything? Even just winning a duel on the flank would certainly do something for them. But there's a good chance Hans just gets diffed by Ryan again, and then this is all just for naught again. So they really have to try and make something happen here on the side of MANDEM if they want to go up around, finally put themselves in contention of winning this outside of a golden cap. Because with the pace that we're moving at right now, the molasses slowness, is a good chance that we will be here until that very golden cap if this continues. Neither team can figure out how the hell do you get into the second. And this is what we love to see, folks. This is EU TF2 at its finest. Teams just staring down choke points, figuring out somehow, some way, if they can do anything. The year is 20XX. TF2 has become a choke point watching simulator, and you only win if a player inputs a wrong button for about half a second. Oh, lots of damage.
Oh yeah, damage, brilliant. It entails this round timer. You have 1 minute until it resets. Fancy tries to battle it forward and has some more aggressive skirmishes. I'm not picturing them to push like aside if they get maybe a very large discrepancy in damage onto the enemy team. Boulder was trying to sneak something through. There's still Pandemic and Hans in the lobby area. Now the Uber comes in, encompassing with his own players is Boulder leaving the choke. You see it in the reverse sort of scenario like 3 minutes ago when NOOBPANZER pushed it second. Also, wow, Ryan wins the 2v1 in the river area. We were talking about him being a prodigy. He trades it out 1-2 and that might lead NOOBPANZER to push, but you have to keep in mind it is still NOOBPANZER after all.
That's the most exciting thing that's happened in the last 10 minutes, but perhaps it may not amount to much. Oh, okay, they do take care of Laradox, but Pickle's in a bit of danger for a bit there still. NOOBPANZER on top of it. They can keep moving, they can keep a bit of aggression. They've realized that this giant can bleed. It's not just a scratch, it is more than just a little bit of a flash wound, but they also took too long to just really do anything with it, and we're going to a round reset on second, which is so embarrassing. Come on, like, okay, they're at least trying to get a bit of cap time on second, but that's so embarrassing. If I was either of these teams right now, I'd be just a little embarrassed. You know, they're probably playing their minds out, but
that's why we are not in the Premiership bracket final.
Yeah.
We don't understand. What I also don't understand is why I have this repeating Dia show of Hans sacking in through a choke. I think he done that at least like 6 times now. Like always, I fly in, now I'm out again, goodbye, and nothing really came of it again. Now though, we are into the 4th mid fight, 1-1. Fancy already shot down a little bit in the damage and health numbers, rather down to about half HP. Ryan is coming up from the drop down area, might claim Hans is a heavy to mid. Pandemic.
Interesting. Bringing up the Pepper's Pizza Party strats, the heavy to mid, and it might be the difference maker. It catches NOOBPANZER completely off guard. Absolutely unexpected that Pandemic would be rolling up with the Putus, and it wins MANDEM a decisive little mid fight here. Probably gets them onto second fairly easily as well. They've certainly got the players to do so, leaving that heavy behind, making sure nobody will be contesting that mid for a while, and fight will be on second instead, as well, NOOBPANZER do go back out. They actually go for the exchange off the back of it. Unfortunately for them, it doesn't look like MANDEM are giving up any ground anytime soon, even if their Uber fades first, and they'll have the heavy to back him up as well as he makes his way forward, waddles on in. Piggles is the first to fall on the side of NOOBPANZER. Everybody else going so dangerously low now with no heals to come their way, no salvation. They only have to try and take care of whatever they can, but yeah, it's not looking all that great for them.
What was Piggles doing there? Maybe I don't understand this mindset, but in the midst of this Uber, he was turning away from his pocket scar and then bolting his own player in that river area. And the problem is, they had way longer Uber, but there were no players for NOOBPANZER in pivotal positions to bomb the enemy team, get the use out of this longer Uber duration, and in the end, even though it was only Ubi and Pandemic who now switches back from the big heavy weapons guy to the very fast scout class, they were enough to scurry out Ubi's life. 50% now, that means in the conclusion of that, or 40% as we speak, advantage. They are watched though, it is telegraphed and relayed to as an information by Ryan and Hugo, who are backing out consecutively. UG is peeking from river.
Ah, he missed a shot out to Fancy. That would have been a big one to hit, and unfortunately he couldn't nail it. That would have saved them certainly, and even just getting a shot lined up there somehow onto Ubi could have done big work, but now the sniper's been caught out. He's only going to be able to get a scrappy shot off at best. Ryan trying his best, but...
Oh, no, now you're back. You sort of just cut out there for a little bit, yeah? Welcome back.
Yeah, he's trying his best. Sorry, my bad. It's, you know, It's just the classic German internet. Anyway, nothing happens. The Sniper doesn't do anything. He doesn't get anything done. And now they're on last. At least they got the Uber, right? Uber didn't have to use, so unfortunately they're not getting much out of that either. And got the Vox-Tech Sniper, Heavy as well. But Hugo already goes down. Hans on the point with the Pain Train as well, just to pull that little bit of extra cap time on it. Lardox in with a bomb as well. That just gets completely anti-aired. The flak cannon is deployed. Nothing is happening to Pickles this time around. They're keeping him alive as Ryan trades out for Pandemic in River. And it's actually a nice opportunity, perhaps, if NOOBPANZER are feeling keen to move forward ever so slightly. They can hold the W key. If they're careful enough, they have very little to worry about. And they might even be able to catch a fancy little frag right there, making sure that Demo is out of the equation, as well as the Ubers will be exchanged on the second point. And it's just going to be two scouts staring each other down while not being able to kill anybody.
Fancy was so caught in that really uncharacteristically so. Lardox already shot down to very low on HP. Might he survive? Yes. Gets a very able bolt on the top area, but 1, 2 to 1. Oh well.
Yep.
That's
the backup. Yep. There's always a backup.
Even, yeah, only 2 players left alive, but it works out. It's a 2-1. Bit anticlimactic. I'm sorry. Fancy said he jumped right past him. I'm sorry, I was not telegraphing it. I wanted to say fantastic rotation out from NOOBPANZER, you know, off the back of Huge's brilliant camouflage there, like Gazi usually does. Perfect pyro play, but just getting backcapped, and that's such a steep mountain again to climb for NOOBPANZER.
Yeah, now they're down a round and they got 5 minutes left on the clock to try and turn it back. Suddenly this has turned very dire for them. They can't take their time anymore. They can't bite their chances, and Pandemic rolling the heavy to mid once more, winning it as well for Pandemic. For MANDEM much rather. They are on top of these mid fights. They're gonna get second off the back of it as well. Pickles will have an Uber in time for a last hold, but they gotta deal with that heavy who's apparently just gonna come into last with them as well, considering he didn't die. He didn't really even get to the mid-fight before it concluded, basically, so I guess he's gonna have his chance this time around to try and convert that last push. And, well, I mean, that might work in NOOBPANZER's favor. Unfortunately for them, they have 5 minutes left to go coast to coast. And against the heavy, on second, this is actually starting to look like a deliberate defense by MANDEM to just, you know, park the bus a little bit. Just wear them down the old-fashioned way.
They could also just have this timer tick down, and then they would have around 14 seconds to cap the midpoint. No, that is obviously not the play. Lardox is losing that 1v1 skirmish. Rather, Hugo loses against Lardox, who claims that frag for himself. And that backcap might have just secured this very hefty lead for MANDEM, who are already one map to the good and 2-1 leading here on Gullywash, and it is now in the hands of NOOBPANZER. Vox-Tech has to call for it. Ryan in Tau and Hugie as the first one to enter the entourage. Do they get a shot here?
Okay.
One already onto Lardox, 2 players down. That might be the opening that they needed. The initiators are getting ready to shoot at someone, but Pandemic is owning the skies.
Yeah, Voxy just runs into heavy, gets shot down. Meanwhile, Hugie dying to a stick trap as well. Immediately stuns that. They won't be able to get out just yet. And they just lost by pushing out of last. Unfortunately, this time their hands are forced. NOOBPANZER will have to push out of last at any opportunity they can get to have a chance. A chance at actually taking this back to a golden cap or even winning Gullywash whatsoever. Or they're going to the lower bracket tomorrow, so they have to do anything they can. They have to be aggressive. They have to give Hugie these angles that he so desires and just somehow get a shot onto something, but there's nothing to look at. Everything is just out of view, and playing around that sniper so well. They're so defensive on the side of MANDEM, not really giving them any quarter, but still sticking far enough back that they don't really have to worry about too much of the aggression coming from NOOBPANZER. And they know that NOOBPANZER are the ones that have to mess up here. As soon as they make a mistake, as soon as there's one player that shouldn't die.
He's so weak though. The longest range damage, 20 HP only, who gets the sandwich just as the rocket hits the view model. Might have even been gipped to death now, Hugie peeking, but they were so well intermittently changing out their players on the side of MANDEM. Since this passive beam, you have to keep in mind, that means your players in the front flank are quite weak, but Lardox wins against Hugo. Also, Hugie got dealt with by those very famous and fabled pipe hits. That means so you have to play, like, rotate your players out. Ryan gets dealt with on the balcony area, and that might turn into an instant push. 3 players already down, and on the shutter area, that might make the enemy team shudder here, as Fancy is already lobbing the stickies over, gets the force out.
Yeah, the Uber's out of the equation. MANDEM comes in, they can clean up with their own now as well. Only 3 players remaining for the side of NOOBPANZER, and they don't even have to really kill them to just get on that point. Get it rounded out, another round on the board, make it 3-1, and put yourself in a prime position to go straight to the finals, because there's a very low chance that NOOBPANZER can defy the laws of the universe and get 2 rounds in 2 minutes.
Now they have to go full force. I was complimenting MANDEM's efforts before, though. That was brilliant. Also, that sandwich mattering so much. Upi would have dropped other if she didn't get that sandwich in a timely fashion. But as again, they were playing very passive, but they were also realizing that they had low HP. GG gets dealt with. Hans already claiming that demo frag, which helps his team greatly to get the grabs into the mid. But now Lardox jumps in. Piggles down to about half HP. Grabs the health back, though. Fancy is going to walk forward. Does he only, yes, assume this lower roll onto the low ground and trying to receive some very able balls. Pandemic cleaned up, but it is a 3 versus 3 fight. Now Piggles still on the field, low on HP. Fancy with the pipes, hitting absolutely everything, and Upi deals with the enemy medic.
This guy doesn't miss pipes. There's some fun about him, man. Check him PC is all I'm saying, but yeah, no, MANDEM back on top with another mid fight that they've, well, it's a long one, but they have won it in the end. Hugie trying his best to maybe keep the gate team in there, but he's only going to be able to do so much by his lonesome, and it's looking like MANDEM might even give themselves another round on the board here just for the sake of it, just to really drive it home that they are the onliners. But at the end of the day, you have to consider this. Does any of this actually matter? MANDEM didn't show up to LAN, so this is all null and void anyway. This might as well just be a scrim.
You see the difference, by the way, the stark difference between this being online and everything being on the line, because you said it, offline champions are obviously supreme in terms of gameplay, but now Upi is going to get clumped, and now the Uberstar comes out of Piggles. No one is left alive anymore in the lobby, but downtime, trash time, garbage time, however you want to call it. Use all your synonyms, all your homonyms. Only 10 seconds left here. Piggles dancing about 15%. Some funny talk in the chat, but that is already MANDEM booking their spot, their ticket to the grand finals tomorrow at 21. Before that, we have the lower bracket finals between NOOBPANZER and the player or the team that lost against ForFans, which is Skeda. I do think so. The two teams that turned up to LAN, not doing so good online, but we talked about it earlier. We didn't really reveal it to you, but yeah, NOOBPANZER already, because they showed up to LAN and they won LAN, they already won this season, but you know, they still play for the marbles. It was a great game still to watch, even though on Gully Watch, like, it was very tactical, but over in 2 maps already.
Yep, MANDEM showing that they are still a force to be reckoned with after all. I mean, they looked unbelievably dominant on Process, and they looked a lot shakier on Gully Watch for a while there, right? NOOBPANZER were putting on a fight. They took the first round very quickly, very decisively, so they had more to work with on Gully Wash, but I feel like they just ran out of stamina at some point, right? At some point, especially after it equalized, and then they were in this grueling, like, 15, 17 minute long stalemate on second with pretty much nothing happening. That kind of just like wears you down probably. And that just gets us to this point where, yeah, they ran out of steam. They didn't really know what else to do. And all that's left is to look at some numbers. Again, somehow Fancy does a lot of damage, and Boulder gets an insane KD. This is a very similar story, stats-wise at least, to what Process was as well.
Fancy even fancies himself getting even more damage than on Process, so that might tell you that it was also a stalemate, but they were simply trading out damage, even if it wasn't convoluting in the frags in the end, though Fancy settled very comfortably on a high perch of 2.0 KD, 2.5 KAD. After that, Ryan with a 1.1 KD. He was definitely trying. You were maybe pointing out the little mockery there that NOOBPANZER had. They were reveling in their own passiveness. Maybe, you know, the action was abating, but they were also a huge factor on why that game was very slow paced at the very beginning, and afterwards then MANDEM could play it passive because they simply had the rounds to back it up. 61 frags go the way of NOOBPANZER, 62 the face of MANDEM, so 1 frag difference translates to a 3-1 scoreline. I love locks in that sense. Upi drops once. If I add that to the 1 drop from the map before that makes 2. Pickles 0 drops, so 1 drop in the entire game since he dropped 1 in the round before that. Ryan topping the charts here with the frags, getting 2 medic frags, but if you only look at medic deaths, which is the most important fact for me anyway, 3 deaths on Ubi, 4 deaths on Pickles, not a whole lot of medics going down, falling down to the ground, but that was it from my commentary. You can look at the logs and you can read them all on your home monitors. I still like that game. It was at least very methodical.
Yeah, NOOBPANZER clearly showed that they know what they're doing. They haven't forgotten how to play the game, even though you could have considered that to maybe be the case on Process for a while there. But they showed that they know what they're doing on Gully Wash at the very least. And I don't think we should really keep people any longer. GG's to MANDEM for making the finals. Good luck to NOOBPANZER tomorrow in the lower bracket run. And I guess we'll see if they get another shot at the crown.